I'm Gale. Welcome to Family Favorites. This is the second part of Valentine Cupcakes. And I have my special friend Linda here. Linda, welcome to PEG TV's state-of-the-art kitchen set.
Thank you, Gale. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, what delicious goodies are you going to show us how to make today?
I'm so delighted to bring this recipe to you. It's called the maraschino cherry cake. And this is something that my mother made me when I was about 9 years old for my birthday. And I just couldn't get over how good it tastes. Okay, so I have everything pre-measured. I'm going to put in the dry ingredients first. I have 1 2/3 cups of sugar. And then I will put in baking powder. There's 3 teaspoons and a half of baking powder.
So that it will rise.
Yep. And 1 teaspoon of salt. And these lovely little measuring dishes I got for Christmas from my neighbor. This calls for 2/3 cup of Crisco. And I actually researched on Crisco because I've made changes in my diet, and I love cooking with Crisco for baking. It gives you the best flaky crust and pastry. But when you're thinking of fats and things, you want to try to get to the healthy ones. But I found out in 2007 that Crisco has changed somewhat into something healthier.
Now by Crisco you mean the semi-solid, not liquid oil.
Crisco is the solid. But it's got less trans fat. It said 0.5. So it's not as bad for you, but of course you want to eat these things in moderation. So if you're going to have something delicious like this, you should have something that works the best.
Now what are you using to stir it with?
I'm just using a regular spoon.
Okay, you don't need a long wooden spoon.
Well, I have a wooden spoon too, but I like, this seems to help mix the best. I use a large spoon. So I'm creaming it all in.
Is this the hardest part? Creaming
Well, yeah, because
ingredients.
It's not too bad. Okay, so now I have 5 egg whites that goes in this recipe.
Now it should be a lot easier to cream.
Yeah. In some recipes, they take the egg whites and beat them first before you fold it into the recipe.
That would make it airier, lighter, fluffier, like chiffon.
Yeah. And just so you know, I washed my hands before because sometimes I have a tendency of forgetting and getting my fingers in there. Okay, so now there's 2 1/4 cups of flour.
Just regular flour? Nothing special?
Well, I use unbleached flour.
Okay.
And they do have some baking flours that are thinner, and you can sift it if you want, but I haven't really. Okay, and milk, 3/4 cup of milk, and if it calls for buttermilk, if you add like a teaspoon of white vinegar, that should help give you the buttermilk to it. So
I thought adding vinegar would sort of curdle it or make it into sour milk.
It doesn't really curdle it, but it gives it that sour thing, and that's what that buttermilk is. It's like sour milk.
I see.
And then I have a 1/2 cup of the cherry juice.
This is the juice that comes when you buy the cherries in a jar?
Yes, if you buy the maraschino cherries, I take the juice right from the jar. And sometimes I end up using all that juice and end up having to get another jar of
So the
cherries.
juice is to help blend
Flavor.
everything? Flavor, and I suppose make it a little pink?
Yeah. See, it's starting to make it pink.
Lovely.
And so now I'm going to beat it.
So when you've added all
Beat it
these
for-
ingredients, we need to,
till it's
to
like
blend it.
creamy and
Okay.
stuff. I'll put that over there. See, I came prepared because I wear my stuff quite often.
Now, what level are you beating it?
Right now I'm on medium, just to get it all blended in. Now I'm turning it all the way up. And you can beat it for like about 3 minutes.
Wow.
And this is a really pretty cake to make for Valentine's Day. I have a couple of heart cake pans and I make a double layer cake.
How do you know when you've beaten it enough if you're not timing it?
I do everything by a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and when you look at it, I don't know if the camera can see this, it's all creamy, like it's sort of whipped, but you don't want to over whip it. So that looks good for there.
Now, those beaters look mighty tempting.
You want to have one? I usually offer them to my grandkids.
Why don't we just put them in here for now? Thank you.
So now we're going to add the walnuts and the maraschino cherries.
Boy, this sounds fancy.
Yeah, so the walnuts, it's a half a cup of chopped nuts, and I don't like mine real ground. I like them, you just break them with your fingers to like something like that, and put them in. And then maraschino cherries are about 16 cherries chopped.
No juice at this point, really.
No, we already have the juice in there.
Right? So this cake is going to have surprises and real texture in addition to the regular cake part.
Yeah. I don't know if the cameras can see this, but
It can.
so you put that in last, because if you go and put it in earlier and you try to beat it, then you'll clog up your beater.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're ready to put it in the cupcakes. And then whatever's left, we'll make a small cake. Well, I can maybe use this. Maybe give me that spatula again. Thank you.
And so we're hoping that each cupcake gets its fair share of cherries and walnuts, huh?
Yep. It is what it is.
And is it going to rise a lot?
It's going to rise pretty good.
Okay, so we shouldn't fill it right to the top then.
Oh. They get rounded on the top, but this. I was looking for the giant cupcake papers, which I like to use with these cupcake tins and make the larger cupcakes.
So this recipe basically will fill 12 cupcake tins?
Oh, and more.
Oh, no, okay.
It might do it twice.
So our child's birthday party would be great.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do is, let's say if I like a donut once in a while with my coffee in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And if I don't have that, what I do with leftover cupcakes is put them in the freezer. So if I'm in the mood for something sweet and I can leave the frosting off it and just have just like a cupcake muffin with my coffee. And
Well, that's
it's
smart.
kind of a nice treat.
They still taste delicious.
Yeah, so I do freeze them. The oven is set at 350 and it takes about 20 minutes and sometimes 25. It depends on how your oven is.
This oven is pretty effective. Upper or all right, upper rack, not the
I'm all
lower.
set, yep.
So Linda, what do we do with all that delicious batter that we don't need in the oven
Okay,
right now?
well, if you want to make a lot of cupcakes, then if you have extra tins, you can make more cupcakes, or you can take like a little cake pan and
Isn't that
make some
cute?
little cakes, or take some of these things and grease the bottom and then add a little bit of flour to keep things from sticking.
These are my snooty French tartlet containers. They're really handy because you can pop up the bottom to get it out.
Well, I'll start with that. I don't know whether we're going to need all of those, so we'll do this and then put some flour in here. Get all around.
So it's
I'm sure
evenly
you've seen this
coated.
done before. What's that?
So it's evenly coated.
Right. And then just toss out the excess.
Well, you can put the excess in these guys, even if you don't use them,
Okay.
because we really don't need to add flour or body to the batter that we have.
Well, no, the Crisco and the flour keeps it from sticking to the pan when you take it out of the oven. If that's what we're talking. So you fill it to like halfway in the pan.
I love seeing those cherries come out.
Yeah. I'll spread those afterwards. I might need the others.
We're not going to waste any of this delicious batter, that's for sure.
No. Somebody's going to have a happy Valentine. I love this kitchen. It's nice and big.
Yes. I bet your
There.
children have enjoyed having these over the years.
Well, I'm the one that really loves this cake, and I think the kids are okay with it, but everyone seems to have their own favorite. Yep. So now we'll work on the frosting.
Oh boy, I can't wait for this.
So hopefully there's plenty of room in here, but frosting shrinks.
Now, the frosting recipe is on
Okay,
a separate
so
card.
this is 4 cups of confectionery sugar to make your frosting, and then a half of cup of margarine, this one's softer, which is 1 stick of butter. And that goes
And this
in
has been
here.
softened just by
This
being
is-
in the air.
Yeah, take it out of the fridge so it'll soften up. And if you do nuke it to soften up, you've got to be really careful because it will just turn into liquid like in the center and then soft on the outside. So it's better if you just do it by the air. Okay, and a half of cup of Crisco. And 3 tablespoons of the cherry juice.
Boy, that cherry juice gets everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't make this without cherry juice. That's for color and flavor.
Yep. The more the merrier. And then a teaspoon of almond extract.
Oh, that's a special touch.
What a nice flavor this gives it.
Oh, almond, it always smells and tastes delicious.
And then 1/8 teaspoon of the red food coloring. And be careful not to get this on you.
That has to be sort of squeezed out drop per drop.
Yep. That's good. And then 1 tablespoon of milk.
Is this whole milk?
Yes, I use whole milk. And when I mix it up, if it needs more milk, then I add it. Okay, I just want to smash up that butter there a little bit. And it doesn't take long for the frosting to kind of shrink down, but I may end up adding more milk to it because this is really stiff. So I'm going to stop right there, and I am going to add a little bit of milk, and then just turn the beater on. Probably about 2 tablespoons, maybe more. That's the lose the beater trick.
Ah, yes. I'm pretty good at that. Then there's the other trick where the beaters won't come out.
Here, okay.
So that's on low.
Yes, I have it on low, just. Now I turn it up a little. But I can tell you that there still needs to be more milk in there. I don't know who said 1 tablespoon, but not working. I've got it on high now. I'm going to scrape.
Ooh, it looks so good.
Scrape the side of the bowl.
Right, to get every bit blended.
Try that again. I can smell those cupcakes.
Oh boy, they should be ready real soon.
I think this is good. Anybody for a beater?
Well, maybe our station manager. We will save those for some lucky person.
So that's it for the frosting. And I like my spoon for that. See how creamy it is? And that probably took about more than 1/4 of a cup of milk, but I just keep adding a little bit of milk until it looks like the right consistency, which that looks pretty good. Oh, the cupcakes, I can hear them ding-donging. And just by eyeballing it, they don't really look done. No, definitely not.
Now, is it dangerous to open the oven door?
Well, it's
or
not
something?
dangerous, but if it sometimes stops the cake from rising.
Ah.
Okay, so the cupcakes are ready, and I'm going to be turning them out on the pan. This one.
Oh, just upside down, wow.
Yeah, that's what I do anyway.
Bounce
And
right
then
out.
quickly turn them around this way so they'll cool quicker.
On the little cooling rack.
Yep.
Really helps to have 2 hot pads too.
I don't really need two, actually.
All right. Oh, that's a good way to prevent bouncing
Yeah.
it down to the floor.
So these are pretty hot, so when you turn them, do it real fast.
And how long do they need to cool before we can frost them?
They've got to cool for about 10 minutes, or if you put like your wrist on them, they, you can't feel the heat, because if you go to frosting them, it's going to melt right on it.
So we'll come back in 10 minutes. Now, why don't we
Yeah,
cook
so we're
those
going to put
guys
these in the oven.
Yeah, as long as the oven is ready.
Oops. The little ones are done.
The tartlets are done, okay.
Whoops. I'm trying to get it out fast because this one needs to go another 5 minutes, I think.
Okay. Now, what is this
These are
special
almost-
method, this wrist method of testing?
What I do is I put my wrist on there, and if you can feel the heat coming from it, it's not time to frost in it.
So what will happen if you do frost it when it
If-
isn't cooled?
If you do frost in it before it cools, the frosting's going to melt right on it.
Oh.
It's going to melt all over and won't look as pretty, especially if you want to go and decorate it. You need a frosting that's a little on the stiff side so you can get your stuff to stay formed.
And the littlest cake pan.
Okay.
I noticed you weren't using toothpicks to test?
Oh, well, I mean, everybody has their things, but I like this, that you use for your cooking, because
So-
I sometimes burn myself sticking my arm in there, so this is a safer way for me to
That's
do
smart,
it.
and plus you get 2
Yeah.
chances. Well, I guess it's now time for the best part of all, putting on the cherry frosting.
It's cooled off enough, but it took more than 10 minutes, I would say about 15.
Or you could even put it in the refrigerator for a little bit if you
Yeah,
wanted to
put it in the
rush
fridge a
up.
little bit if you're in a hurry. Put a good amount of frosting on it. Wow. And you don't want the frosting like to dry on it, so right after you get them frosted up, then put some of the sprinkles on it.
So they could be red or maybe chocolate or silver, any color you wanted.
Yep. There's some little decorations you can get from, what's the name of that cake place? They have some products at Walmart. Is it Winslow Cake Products? And they have some like pretty silver little candy balls you can get. I like putting those on here. It looks really pretty. But for Valentine's Day, we'll do the little sprinkles.
So how many cupcakes does this recipe make in terms of icing?
Well, I made 12. You can make 24 cupcakes, at least.
So this
Maybe even a
amount
little
of icing
more.
will cover 24?
Yeah. Well, this is a lot of icing, so, and it's not like I make it often, but it's better to have more than enough than not enough.
Sure.
And you can freeze it.
That's handy.
Like if you have some cake you want without the frosting, you can freeze it that way and then freeze the frosting separately.
I think the best part must be putting on the sprinkles.
It doesn't beat putting it in your mouth, though.
Well, true. Will the frosting sort of set up after a while?
It will get like, you know, a little firm on the outside. So I cover it with saran wrap, but you can wait. See how pretty that looks?
Oh, what fun. A girl's birthday party would be just wonderful. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've learned a lot and will try some of Linda's wonderful cherry walnut cupcakes. And you know, cooking in the kitchen can be so much more fun when you're cooking with friends. Bye.